Good evening. What a great night. My name is Christiana Parnell, and my husband Mac has been doing a fantastic job with this event tonight. And I'm so proud of him and the heart that he has for our state and our nation. And he's the one who asked me to come up here tonight and to tell you a story. I was in my early 20s when my dad, who I will introduce to you in just a couple minutes, finished a very long process of writing a book. This was a compilation of short stories of how prayer has impacted our nation throughout history. And he had been working on it, writing, editing, revising for many years when one day he came with a completed manuscript and he handed it to me and said, "Will you read this and give me some honest feedback?" Which I am known for giving. And I sighed and I thought, oh, great. Because I didn't want to have to tell him it was bad. I grew up hearing my dad tell us stories of these moments in history, and he told them in a way that made me feel like I was at Valley Forge with General Washington, or I was on the Apollo 8 space mission on Christmas Eve. And I loved it, and I thought, there is no way he can write it the same as he tells it, so this is going to be terrible. But I thought, it looks really important to him, so I took it out on my back porch. I sat down, I turned to the last chapter, and I started to read. And this was a story of a young man, a school teacher who left his dream job to join the Continental Army. And he wasn't just a member of the regular Continental Army, he was in a special forces known as the Knowlton Rangers. And on September 11th, 1776, Colonel Knowlton called his Rangers together because General Washington needed some intel on the British forces. What he needed was a spy. And back then, it's not like the movies today. Spies were the lowest of the low. They were the dishonorable men. So we knew he had to ask for a volunteer. And just as Colonel Knowlton was making his plea for volunteers, this young man whose name was Nathan Hale, this school teacher, walked into the room. He hadn't been invited because he had the flu. But he came in just in time to hear this plea. And nobody responded. So he said, "I'll go." And they all looked at him and thought, "You're not the right man for this," because he was known as a man of great character, a praying man, not a spy. But he said, "Any job that my country needs, I can do." So they outfitted him as a school teacher. They sent him behind enemy lines, and it was not long before he was caught. The British officer waved the papers that they found in his shoe in his face and demanded a confession, to which he would only reply, "My name is Captain Nathan Hale. I am on a mission for General George Washington in the service of my country." They charged him with espionage. They sentenced him to hang the next day. He spent the last night of his life alone in a makeshift cell. And the next morning, the executioner was running late. So he didn't even make the normal preparations. He just threw a rope over an apple tree. They took Nathan Hale out of his cell. About that time, a crowd had began to gather at the apple tree. And when he stepped out, there was about 30 feet between him and that apple tree. And I've often wondered, if I had 30 steps left in my life, what would I do? Would I plead to God for forgiveness of my sins, not knowing if my salvation was secure? Or would I offer to join the enemy, because what good can I do if I'm dead? I don't know what I would do, but I know what he did. He stood with his head high and his shoulders back, and he walked confidently to the apple tree. When he got there, he turned around, and the British officer said, "Do you have any last words or confessions?" And his reply has often been paraphrased as, "My only regret is that I have one life to give for my country." But what he actually said that day was, if I had 10,000 lives, I would give every one for my bleeding, hurting country. When he gave his one life that day, he was 21 years old. And as I sat on my back porch with tears streaming down my face, I was 21 years old. In his 21 short years, he made an impact that we are still talking about tonight. In 31 short years, another young man last week who lost his life made an impact that I believe will also span generations. Why? Because they weren't so concerned about victories that they could see as impacts that would reach generations they would never see. Can we make a difference? Yes. But what are we willing to sacrifice to do it? Every single person here can do something, whether it's knocking on a door, whether it's giving a donation like you have a chance to do tonight. We can all do something to keep the torch of freedom burning just as brightly for our children and our grandchildren as it was when it was handed to us.